This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and we're brought to you by the Verdoliak Law Group, fighting insurance companies since 1963, and BetChicago.com, your source for all of Chicago's sports and betting news. Hey, Bears Girl, what's your favorite jingle of all time?
Well, although I've got to say, it's the Kit Kat one.
Give me a break, break me off a piece of that Kit Kat bar. Oh yes, I'm loving it. Memorable, catchy, and instantly connects with the brand.
You know who else is looking for a memorable jingle? TickSplits.com, and they're willing to give away a free ticket to the Chicago Bears Green Bay Packers game for a good one.
I knew that. A ticket to the game, and we'll set up a meet and greet with the winner and members of the barroom and other barflies. It will be fun. Bears Go, give our listeners some of the particulars while I try to come up with some Tick Splits sample jingles. Like, for instance, how about this one? Like a good ticket broker, Tick Splits is there.
These, although, no, that's not a good one. No. Okay, here's what you need to do, Bears fans and barflies. Step 1. Record an amazing, catchy 10 to 30 second jingle for Tick Splits to use on their social media promos. It can be audio only or a video entry. Step 2. Submit it via Twitter and make sure you tag both at Bears Barroom and at Tick Splits. Step 3. Send a copy via email to marketing@ticksplits.com. That's marketing@TIXBLITZ.com with Bears Barroom in the subject line. Contest runs from November 19th until December 5th, and the winner will be announced on December 10th. Full contest details are available on bearsbarroom.com.
All right, you gave me an idea for another one. TIXBLITZ.
No.
Nothing like that?
No.
How about this one? You deserve some tickets today, so get up and call Tick Splits.
No, please make sure that you're not using any trademarks or copyright infringements. Be creative, and as Matt Nagy says, be you. So head over to Bears Barroom for all the details. Submit as often as you want. Just please make them better than all those.
The following program is suitable for all ages.
Buffone. A certain magic will always linger with the very name. It speaks of courage and fervor in the world's most brutal game. 55, worn by Doug Buffone, a Chicago Bear through and through. He demanded excellence of himself and anyone wearing navy blue.
You tell me what's going on. This is moronic. We're going to get our whipped all the way down the line. I want somebody to get kicked in the and get out there and play. You're getting paid to play this game. And play it right. I don't mind you getting beat. I got my whipped many times. But I tell you, I took somebody down with me. You are a professional team. Act like one, for God's sakes.
Football fans, this is Buffone 55. The John Buffone Show.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Buffone 55, the fastest-paced Chicago Bears football podcast available. We're back on our Wednesday night schedule, and if you're listening live on mixlr.com, tell your friends to join us, and if they can't make it, no worries. Tell them all about the podcast version that will be released later tonight. I am your host, John Buffone. Barflies, your Bears are in first place with a padded lead. That has to feel good. Bears Girl's unable to join us tonight. She'll be back next week. With me tonight, we went antiquing and found a relic of Buffone 55 nostalgia. The OG, Aldo Gandia. Aldo, did you get a nap before tonight's show so you don't nod off?
You know what? Actually, I did. I took about a nice 20-minute nap, and now I've got a little refreshment by my side. I am ready for action. Are you ready?
I'm ready. All right, old man, try to keep up with me. Since you were here last, we tried a couple new things, beginning with doubling down on the 555 segment. So instead of doing it at only the end of the show, we're going to bookend the segments to 555s for the price of one. You won't find that in any Chicago deli. Aldo, you with me? You ready to go?
I am, but let me tell our audience also that afterwards we'll bring in the first of our two guests for you tonight. The first one is Jerry Foley. He was the senior editor of the Giants Insider, and then later it'll be Thomas Casale of Bet Chicago, our old friend, comes back. Now, let me remind our listeners about this segment and also let our new listeners know how this works. I will ask you 5 questions and you have 55 seconds to respond. The reason you picked 55 seconds is as a tribute to your uncle, Doug Buffone, who wore number 55 during his 15 seasons with the Chicago Bears. At the end of the 55 seconds, you'll hear a whistle, and on we go to the next question. Now, I'll ask you again. Are you ready?
Are you really asking me that?
I know.
Come on.
I should know better, right?
Ridiculous.
John Buffone is always ready. All right,
That's
here
right.
it is. Question number 1. The Bears go to Detroit on 88 hours of rest and win with a backup quarterback, their 3rd straight NFC North win. Put into Buffone speak, how big a deal is this for the Chicago Bears? The clock starts when you begin.
Well, it's huge for a number of reasons. Not only the win in Detroit, but last 3 games, really. Lions, Vikings, Lions, all wins with a padded lead in the division. But you know why this was so big on Thanksgiving? Because the Bears showed they could win a game with Chase Daniel. That Nagy system works. Obviously, it works better with Trubisky, but this is a complete ball team that can win a game with other superstars, especially on defense. This is a game the Bears lose last year. This is a game they probably pack up and just chalk up as an unwinnable game. And honestly, this is a game Bears fans probably chalk up as a loss last year. This is huge because it not only shows Bear fans that the team is for real, I think it's something that the Bears players see and start to take themselves more seriously. Like, damn, look what we just did. Hell, we can play, but why can't we go and beat teams like LA? Why can't we hold our own against the Saints? Obviously, it's big because it puts Chicago in the driver's seat for the division, but even longer term effects could be that this team just found itself and it could potentially be peaking at the right time. One final note, it's huge because they avoided serious injury problems. Yeah, Mitch sat out, Shaheen got concussed, Lynch is banged up, but there was nothing catastrophic that they can't overcome with the mini-bye coming off Thanksgiving.
You know, teams that go on to win championships usually are very lucky in the injury department, and the Bears, for the most part, have been very lucky outside of the Kyle Long season-ending injury, huh?
Oh, man, I mean, it's huge because we saw last year they couldn't even get guys into week 1. So now they have guys that are playing all year. It's insane night and day. I know we actually we were so bitter last year that we blamed the coaching staff for all the injuries, but maybe there was something to that.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Okay, question number 2, and I think it's a tough one. A year ago, the Bears were 3-8. We know there are multiple reasons for their turnaround, but please just pick one reason that this team is now 8-3. And you know how it works. The clock starts when you start.
There's a number of things that feed into one big thing, and that's a culture change. I made a comment on Twitter this week saying, in November of 2017, I was looking at every site that offered a mock draft. BigBobsBigBoard.com, dude/football.net.gov had the Bears taking Quentin Nelson. Wow, that's crazy. That's awesome. That's what I used to get hyped about for 8 years. I haven't looked at one mock draft yet, even though I know the Bears don't really have that many draft picks. I haven't had a need to look at mock drafts, but it's a team and a fan base that believes it can win. We used to feel lucky if the Bears pulled out a victory. We used to accept losing as the norm. Now, fans and players go into every week thinking the Bears could or should be the favorite. There isn't one team in the NFL that the Bears can't compete with right now. They play with confidence, we watch with confidence, and it looks like the Bears could very well go to, dare I say it, the playoffs. Call it coaching, call it Khalil Mack, call it Trubisky's progression, call it Ryan and Pace bringing in the right guys. I don't care what you call it. I call it culture, and it's a hard thing to do.
Oh, you're using the P word, playoffs. I love it. I love it. We haven't used that word around here in a long time, have we?
No, I think I was still in grade school.
All right, question number 3. Here are the Bears who are currently leading, they are leading Pro Bowl vote getters at their position in the NFC. It's outside linebacker Khalil Mack. It's cornerback Kyle Fuller. It's free safety Eddie Jackson. It's return specialist Tariq Cohen. Who, if anyone, is missing from this list? Or if you think that this is a fair representation of our team, tell us why. You begin, and then the clock begins. Go.
I mean, those guys are definitely an impressive bunch of fellas, and I won't argue with any of them, but Really, Hakeem Hicks isn't on here, huh? I mean, here's the problem. People that can't look over a box score, they don't know what a dominant force Hakeem Hicks really is. Sometimes this is a reputation contest, and for one reason or another, Hicks isn't a household name nationally, but he should be. 39 combined tackles, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles so far this year, but that doesn't even scratch the surface on what this guy does. I see barflies on Twitter all the time clamoring for national attention for Hakeem Hicks, and I'm with him. He's a leader on this defense. I've said on numerous occasions that he's a guy I would run through a wall for, and he's a guy who's giving every last ounce of energy on every play. He is such a disruption. He eats up blocks, and he creates lanes for the guys on the outside to make plays. This Bears defense looks completely different without Hakeem Hicks, and if you are one of the best players on one of the best defenses, how do you not get better consideration for the Pro Bowl? I don't see this as bias. I see this as negligence. Put Hicks in the damn Pro Bowl.
Oh, I love that. I don't see this as bias. I see this as negligence. That is a great line, and you are absolutely right. Now, Hakeem was on the injury report today. He had limited participation, I think it was, with an Achilles, so hopefully that's not serious, because a game in New York, that mega media capital of the world, would be really help him get some Pro Bowl votes.
Absolutely.
All right, on to question number 4. There seems to be a transformation in thinking from some of the Matt Nagy naggers about this offense. Some were saying, you can't win without a strong running game. Well, some of these people are now saying that perhaps you can, given that Nagy's short passing game is an extension of the run game. What say you? Do the Bears need a stronger running game, or does this Nagy offense contain a newfangled way to run the ball with its lateral passes? Your 55 seconds are about to start.
Well, it's working what he's doing, isn't it? Would I love to see a more effective running game? Sure. But what did that get you last year? The point of an offense is to score points, and the Bears are doing that pretty damn well this year. I don't care where the points are coming from. I don't care if they score 30 points per game strictly through running flea flickers and fumble rooskies. Score more points than the other team. Remember how everyone used to say New England's running game was their short passing game with Wes Welker and Julian Edelman and Kevin Falk and all those guys back in the 2000s? No one's ripping Bill Belichick for his game plan. If Nagy finds a way to exploit a defense, and maybe instead of running 20 dive plays, so be it. You're scoring points. Can it potentially lead to quick 3-and-outs sometimes? Maybe. But getting Anthony Miller, Tariq Cohen, and Taylor Gabriel the ball in open space, that kind of sounds like an effective game plan. I said it before. I'll say it again. Jordan Howard will be there when you need him, and his legs will be fresh. And when there's snow on the ground, he'll have some winter tires on with some fresh treads on. Quick point, though. Do you really need a bruiser to win in games in the snow? Some people are saying you need a big bruiser to win in the snow. Where are the Bears going to be playing if they go deep in the playoffs? LA, New Orleans, maybe Dallas even. Don't expect any snow there.
Wow, great point. Great point. All right, let's go on to question number 5. Before we bring in our guest, I'd like you to give us some information. I'd like you to give us your opinion on Eli Manning's career. Is he the luckiest quarterback in football history? He's won 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. But the 37-year-old, I don't think he will ever be remembered as one of the game's best. And I think Jerry Foley is chomping at the bit to get in here and contradict this. We'll find out shortly. But, John, I'd like your opinion on Eli Manning. Do you think he's one of the luckiest players of all time? What do you think of him? The 55 seconds are about to start.
Let me preface this by saying I think Eli Manning's a very, very good quarterback, but he's always kind of just been a dude to me. I haven't considered him a top 5 in the league, let alone an all-time great. I'm not saying this from a statistical standpoint, but he reminds me of some of the good quarterbacks of my youth that you look back on and you're like, oh yeah, he was pretty good. I'm talking guys like Rich Gannon, Trent Green, Dante Culpepper, Drew Bledsoe, names you don't think about until they pop up in conversation, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was pretty damn good. The only difference here is that Eli has 2 rings. Now you can chalk that up to a bunch of different reasons, but if you look at the stats, 6 times over 4,000 yards, even out of that 3 seasons with 20 or more interceptions, including a 27 interception performance in 2013, only 3 seasons with 30 or more touchdowns, clinging that career completion percentage of around 60%. When I talk to my kids 20 years from now, Eli Manning probably won't come up in conversation unless we're talking about Peyton Manning, and I'll say, oh yeah, he had a brother who played in the league too, and he actually refused to play for the Chargers. I don't know if I could hit 55 seconds on Eli Manning, but the eye test shows, at least to me, that he hasn't played that well this year. Maybe I'm wrong. That's why we bring some of these guys on to give us a better understanding of that.
Well, the guy you're going to talk to is a huge fan of Eli Manning. I was listening to his podcast this morning, the Giant Insider podcast, and he talked about how he's had autographs and pictures taken with his son and Eli Manning. So I'm going to turn it over to you and Mr. Foley.
Hey, Jerry, I appreciate you being on tonight. How you doing?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Jerry is the senior editor at the Giants Insider newspaper and the host of the Giants Insider podcast. One of the reasons we do this show is so we can better understand the Bears' upcoming opponent, and Jerry's going to give us all we need to know about the Giants. Jerry, you heard me go on that little spiel about Eli Manning. I know you're a huge Manning fan. Your thoughts on what I said, maybe what the national perception of what Eli is right now as opposed to what it might have been years ago. He's got 225 starts with the Giants. How many more can we expect with him in a Giants uniform?
It's so tough to say because you would think it's just going to be the rest of the season or whatever until they're mathematically eliminated. He's going to start this week, and if by some miracle they beat the Bears this week, then he's probably going to play the following week. But once they're mathematically eliminated, I would think you're going to see Kyle Lauletta get a shot in there. As far as next year, it really could go either way, man. I could, if the Giants don't around like a Justin Herbert and they don't have a shot at him, I could see them bringing in either a bridge quarterback or going one more year with Manning until they're ready to kind of move on. So what looked like a few weeks back that this was it for Manning, he may actually come back next year. It's not set in stone that they will move on from him. And I know that Dave Gettleman's going to use these last games to kind of grade him and see if they're going to move on with him. But it's just funny how 2 wins and all of a sudden, and they suffered a bad loss this past week, but it's funny how 2 wins can kind of change everything. And now the thinking is, well, now that they moved back from the second overall pick to 5th, if Herbert, and I'm thinking it's Herbert, if Herbert's not there, they may just take the best player available, then roll the dice next year.
Yeah, I mean, you draft Lauletta for a reason. Don't you, at some point, if they're mathematically out of it, don't you want to see what you have in the kid just to see if he can play, if he's any kind of? I mean, we saw that with the reasoning maybe behind Davis Webb. But what's the scouting report on Lauletta? Is this a guy that could potentially be the long-term answer, or is this just going to be a dude on the roster?
They think highly enough of him. I think the plan this year was to obviously be better than 3-8, and then kind of groom Lauletta for the next year or two, and then give him a shot maybe 2 years from now. But since the wheels came off so early, things have accelerated. Now, can Lauletta be the guy? I don't know. I know they think highly of him. They thought highly enough to take him in the 4th round out of Richmond and then actually cut the 3rd round pick from last year inexplicably. So they really just wanted to groom one guy, not 2. That's why they have Alex Tanney on the roster, the veteran. So can he be the guy? I have no idea. He's very accurate. He's mobile. He doesn't have a strong arm. He can't throw the ball 50 yards down or 60 yards down the field. However, one of the things Shermer said early on was arm strength is maybe 4th or 5th on the list for him. It's the ability to read defenses and being accurate. So Shermer may like him. We're not going to know until he gets in there, unfortunately.
One thing that the Giants have taken a lot of flack on is not drafting a quarterback in last year's draft. They take Saquon Barkley. Obviously, he's a playmaker. He's a stud. He could be a generational running back, but obviously that doesn't translate into wins sometimes. I tend to defend the Giants on this a little bit, maybe because I think they had this plan of drafting Barkley and getting that established running back in, and then the next year, go out and get your quarterback. So he has that safety blanket, much like Dak Prescott had in Ezekiel Elliott his rookie year. Could that have possibly been the plan for the Giants? And if that would have been the plan, don't you wish they would have got their trending toward the top pick perhaps instead of falling back into the top 10?
Well, I think they just fell in love with Barkley. I think that Gettleman looked at him and said, this kid's a Hall of Famer. And look what he's doing this year with this subpar offensive line. He's gotten 100 yards from scrimmage in every game but one. He's been absolutely incredible. What I look at is the only quarterback I thought was worth taking ahead of Barkley, if he was there, was Baker Mayfield. When I look at Darnold, who hasn't impressed me, Josh Allen is hit or miss. He reminds me either of he's going to be John Elway or he's going to be Brock Osweiler. Josh Rosen has a really good arm, but what was the other plan, right? Were you going to take a quarterback to sit behind Eli Manning and every incompletion Manning threw, the fans were going to start booing and wanting the rookie to get in there? And then if you put a rookie behind this offensive line, what the hell was a rookie going to do for this team? So I love the Barkley pick. I think he's proven to be the smart pick. I think he's the best player to come along for the Giants since 1981. So, and I'm trying not to overstate it, but he's been that impactful. And I think it's so much easier if you bring in a young kid next year that he's going to have that security blanket in the backfield with an improved offensive line. I think it was the right move then. I think it's the right move now.
Time will tell, but they obviously got something special in Barkley. I want to pivot back over to Eli Manning real quick. He's been sacked 55 times so far. How much has this porous offensive line contributed to Manning down this as far as his statistics this year? And what can we expect of this offensive line?
Yeah, it's the main reason why the Giants have struggled, right? They're in every game, right? They only got blown out once, and it was by the Eagles in the first game at the Meadowlands. But the offensive line is a disgrace. It's been that way for 5 or 6 years, and it's Jerry Reese and Mark Ross's inability to build it up. So Gettleman comes in and tries to make some changes. I think he hit a double with Will Hernandez in the second round, and Nate Solder's been okay lately. But look, he brought in Patrick Omame, okay, swing and a miss, and now Jacksonville picked him back up. Yamon Brown came over. He's been a good find. And then, right tackle is just a filler. He's Chad Wheeler. He was a free agent out of college last year. So it's almost like, hey, who can play right tackle? Oh, you? Okay, come on in and play. So, look, Manning's been sacked a ton of times. A lot of it's on him. I think Manning feels the rush when he breaks the huddle now. And I agree with what you said about him with the Hall of Fame. I think he will get to the Hall of Fame. It's not going to be first ballot. I think he'll eventually get in because of the 2 Super Bowls. But you have to look at his career and say, for the last 5 or 6 years, he's had garbage blocking for him. And he's been running for his life. And he still put up decent numbers despite that. So, yeah, the offensive line is why this team is in the shape it's in.
A guy who's going to be in charge of shaping the future for the Giants. That'll be head coach Pat Shurmur. I'd like you to kind of evaluate his first year for us. Kind of give me your opinion on how he's doing. And, Matt Nagy told the New York media today that he did not interview for the Giants job. How does that kind of make you feel? Would Nagy have been a guy that the New York media or the New York Giants would have embraced? And how happy have you guys been with Shurmur so far?
Shurmur's been hit or miss this year, man. I mean, the one thing he does is he gets the guys to play for him. I know that sounds simple, but the Giants gave up on McAdoo, I'd say 5 games in last year. And then when they played the Rams at the Meadowlands, they got completely embarrassed. Like I said, they've been in every game. I just think when you turn over, 31 guys on your roster, it's obvious because your roster stinks. And he's doing what he can with that roster. The issue I have with Shurmur is his clock management, his analytics, like going for 2 against Philly when you're up 6-0 because the Eagles jump off sides, so you think you can get 1 yard. Well, spoiler alert, guys, the Giants aren't going to get a 2-point conversion. I don't think they've gotten it since, George Bush has been in office. I mean, they're not that kind of team. So he's very big on the analytics. Most Giant fans kind of look at that and cringe. He goes into halftime with too many timeouts in his pocket. Last week, and I don't know if it was him or Manning, but when it was 3rd and 18 against Philly, Manning calls timeout. I don't know if Shurmur if were the plays coming in so fast and furious that Manning couldn't keep track, but they're doing things like that where they're still not that well coached from a clock management perspective. So if I had to grade Shurmur, I can't give him higher than a C- or a D+ for this year. The only thing I'll say is they do like him and they do play for him.
Yeah, and time will tell. The jury's out, but it's kind of a transition year for the first-year head coach. Let's talk about the actual game now. The Bears' defense, obviously, pretty stout against the run. However, they have been susceptible to receptions to the running back. Can we maybe expect a big dose of drop-off passes to Saquon Barkley this week?
You would think, but again, this is one of the things that Shurmur does that's confusing. Last week, Barkley was forgotten almost in the second half. And on a podcast, if you listen to it, Chris and I kind of disagreed on that. But he gets away from things that are working sometimes, and then he says, well, Barkley had 20 touches. Well, what does that mean? Barkley should have 27 touches or 30 touches if he can. Get him the ball as much as he can. So you would think that they'll utilize Barkley out of the backfield. He's been a tremendous weapon that way. I think we've said he has the best hands on the team, and that includes Odell. Odell makes great one-handed catches, but Barkley doesn't drop anything that's thrown in his vicinity. So you would think that the Giants will utilize, if not the screen game, and they're not the best screen team in the NFL. Manning has never been a good screen quarterback, but at least some checkdowns to Barkley as kind of that security blanket that Manning's used him for most of the season.
A big storyline that's been going on in New York for the last 4 or 5 years, or maybe it's been longer than that or shorter than that, but it just seems to always be in the headlines, is, Odell Beckham's relationship with the team, relationship with the coaching staff, his temperament, his attitude towards the team. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what the relationship might be between Beckham and the coaching staff at this point? Has it been a smooth transition, or is this another rocky ride?
For the most part, it's been. I mean, Odell's Odell. I will say that the team loves him. They don't like him. They love him. His teammates love him. The issue I think that Shermer probably has with Odell is what we saw last week against the Eagles. He stays in the locker room when the second half starts because he doesn't like to drink water. And he's taking an IV. I said, give him Pedialyte, give him Gatorade, trick him like you trick your kids to hydrate. So I don't know what else the Giants can do there. Like, how do you enforce him to drink water and not be dehydrated? Now, was he dehydrated? I'm going to take him for his word, but I think 50% of that could be that he was just mad about the game plan and the interception at the end of the first half, that Manning severely underthrew him, and they should have been up at least 11 points before the half instead of 8, and perhaps 15 points if Manning could hit Odell in the end zone. So he's temperamental. He is. I'll give him that. He's passionate. And the thing about Odell, and we've actually talked to him, he has to be able to control his emotions, and he knows that. It's just. He's into the game, and I'm not making excuses for him. I'm just telling you how it is. He's into the game, and sometimes he lets his emotions get the best of him. And you signed him to a long-term deal, guys. So you didn't sell your soul to the devil, but you made this deal. Now you're going to have to deal with all the good and bad aspects of him. So it kind of is what it is. They're going to have to deal with it.
That should be interesting to see how that plays out. I want to switch sides of the ball real quick. How would you describe this New York Giants defense? From what I understand, there's been a transition from a 4-3 to a 3-4. Do the Giants currently have the players to equip this kind of a defense? We in Chicago saw the Bears transition a number of players out when they eventually went to a 3-4 a couple years ago. What's the state of the defense, and do they have the players to kind of fit this scheme?
Yeah, so the good news for you guys is the Giants need a nose tackle, an edge rusher, a middle linebacker, an outside linebacker, and a free safety. But other than that, the defense is fine. Yeah, so
we're in trouble.
So when they traded Damon Harrison, they were I believe 1-7 at the time, and they got a 5th-round pick back for him, which is fine because if everyone knows you're trading a guy, they're not going to give you a lot. But when the Giants started winning, it was, wow, can we get Damon Harrison back? Because at least he could stop the run. So they've tried Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle. It just hasn't worked. They have absolutely zero pass rush. So unless they're blitzing, which they don't do that often, Chase Daniel's going to have a lot of time to throw. Ogletree has been a massive disappointment. There's a reason why the Rams traded him away. He can't stay with a running back. He can't stay with a tight end. Curtis Riley, the free safety, takes the worst angles of any safety in the league when he makes a tackle. The corners have actually been decent. Janoris Jenkins and B.W. Webb, who's been a journeyman, has been actually okay. And they traded Eli Apple for a 4th and 7th. I can't believe the Saints gave up a 4th and 7th for Eli Apple. But nonetheless, we have B.W. Webb there. And then in the slot, we have a kid, Grant Haley from Penn State, who's a free agent, who's pretty good. So the Giants are decent at corner. Landon Collins is very good as an in-the-box safety. But deep, he struggles because he's not that fast. He's more of like a hybrid linebacker type. So I think every team's been able to run against the Giants now, and I see no difference this Sunday. I think you guys are going to run all over the Giants.
We're talking to Jerry Foley, senior editor of the Giants Insider. Jerry, after that sparkling review of the Giants defense, is there anything that they're doing right that the Bears should be necessarily concerned about?
Wow, that's a tough question, man. I'm not trying to be funny, but right now, no. That defense completely lost. That defense was 50% of the reason they lost this past Sunday with a 19-3 lead over Philly. They can't stop anybody on 3rd down. They can't. I always joke it's like John McVay from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We can't stop the pass or the run, otherwise we're in great shape. And that's kind of what I feel like the Giant defense is right now. That what do they do well? I guess Landon Collins tackles well at the line of scrimmage. So if you see him come up, there's a good chance he's going to make a play. Jenkins and Webb are okay on the outside, but if you have a decent tight end or a running back coming out of the backfield, the linebackers can't stay with him.
In a recent article in one of your publications, Giants Insider, it was written that the Giants special teams is, quote, usually an abomination. We like the sound of that here in the barroom. Please tell us more about that.
It's getting better, though. It's usually an abomination because over the past few years, they had Brad Wing and Aldrick Rosas was a rookie kicker last year. They couldn't find a kick returner to save their life. Tom Quinn's been the special teams coach for far too long. But this year, Riley Dixon's been a pretty good punter for them. Rosas is in his second year. He can boom the ball. Corey Coleman, the former Brown, has been a great kick returner for them. Quadri Henderson's a punt returner. He's out for the season now. He hurt his shoulder against Philly. So it was usually an abomination, but now it's actually decent. It's not spectacular, but it's a decent unit now, where as before they were part of the reason the Giants lost. Now it's solely because of the offense and defense that the Giants lose, not the special teams anymore. So,
well, good. Things are pointing up then. Before I ask you for your expectations of this game, Aldo, I'm going to throw it over to you if you're still awake. Is there any action going on in the chat room over there? Any questions for Jerry?
Yeah, I asked for some questions. You think I was handing out free shots here? Barflies came out and they've got a half dozen questions. Let me see if I can get a couple in. Heart4803 wants to know, who is Eli's safety net to throw the ball to after Saquon Barkley and I guess Odell Beckham? And then Frankie Myers maybe has an attachment to that. How effective has tight end Evan Engram been in this Giants quick passing game?
Well, first, it seems to be Red Ellison because Evan Ingram's hurt, right? So it seems like Manning does like to throw the ball to Red Ellison. Last week he had 4 catches, I think 76 yards against the Eagles. He is a security blanket for Manning, and he does like throwing to him. Evan Ingram's been a disappointment this year because he can't stay healthy. He hurt his knee against the Texans, was back 4 weeks later, and he's had the drops again. So he had a good rookie year, but I think he dropped a ton of passes last year. He could have had more catches. Made a big play against the Buccaneers where he made a 15-yard over the middle grab and turned it into a 54-yard catch and run. But against the Eagles, he hurt his hamstring in warmups. So he can't stay healthy. He's been inconsistent. I expected more of him this year. He's a good kid, but he's got to turn it around. If not by the end of this year, then next year, or they're going to. I would imagine they're going to give him one more year before they decide what to do with him. But yeah, he's been a disappointment this year.
Steven Zimmerman wants to know about Aaron Hernandez, your left guard. I saw him down at the Senior Bowl.
Will Hernandez?
Will Hernandez. Who did I say?
Aaron Hernandez? I don't think he's playing for the Giants.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's a terrible mea culpa. Will Hernandez, who I met down at the Senior Bowl. How's he been playing this season?
Started off a little rough, but he's been getting better and better and better, man. I love that pick when they made it, and he is proven to be, like I said, I think Gettleman hit a double with him. If he hit a home run with Barkley, he hit a double with Hernandez. And as bad as the Giants have been in free agency, they had a very good draft. And I'm not trying to get away from Hernandez, but Lorenzo Carter was a good pick, B.J. Hill. But Hernandez, he's been as advertised. He's a road grader. He's learning the game. I expect next year for him to get better and better. He should be a fixture for them for about 10 years at left guard.
Let me sneak one more in here before we get his prediction, John. Bobby Phelan wants to know what happened to Saquon Barkley in that second half. Was that just a coach's decision not to get him the ball more often? And do you suspect that could happen again this week with the Chicago Bears? Clearly, the Giants are going to have to score a lot of points given what you're telling us about this Giants defense. So what do you think about Saquon Barkley's role this week?
Well, last week, the Giants only ran 18 plays in the second half, and one of those series, Shermer put in Wayne Gallman because he wanted to give Barkley a rest. Now, Barkley's 21 years old, who just came out of halftime. I don't know what rest he needed, and this is the aggravating part with Pat Shermer. Gallman's okay. He didn't do anything wrong, but a 5 or 7 yard carry by Gallman could be 15, 20, 30, 50 for Barkley. Then they passed a bit. Manning kept getting sacked. So they only ran 18 plays, but I think they ran 18 plays because the offensive line couldn't pass block anymore. And I know they were stacking the box, but I'm a firm believer, man. You make the team stop you. If it's working, you make them stop you. And Shermer got away from it. It's going to be interesting to see this week. I don't know if Shermer will overreact to the criticism. He doesn't seem to do things like that, but it would not surprise me if Barkley got 25, maybe 20 carries and 7 or 8 receptions out of the backfield this week.
All right, let's get right into the nitty-gritty of this now. What's your outlook for this game? What is New York going to have to do to win this game, or what would Chicago have to do to screw this up? After that, can you kind of give us what your prediction is for this one? Give us the final score. But before you do that, Jerry, please let people know how they can read your stuff, how they can connect with you on social media and listen to everything.
Sure. So for the publication is www.thegiantinsider.com, or you can go to Magster for a digital copy. That's Magzter. Our Twitter handle is @GiantInsider. We're growing by the day. We have 15,600 followers. And now we have a podcast that's getting more and more popular. It's just the Giant Insider Podcast. It's on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those apps. So this Sunday, man. If they had won last week, I would have felt better about this because they'd still be playing for something. I will say the mood at the stadium is palpable, and it's a bit of a downer now. I think if the Bears make the Giants go 3-0 in their first series, the wheels. This is the week the wheels could come off. So good news for the Bears fans out there. The Giants have been in, like I said, almost every game except one. It's been fourth quarter, really in the fourth quarter where they've lost most of their games. This is one where this is such a bad matchup for the Giants with that Bear defense, especially if they just key on Barkley. What can the Giants do? The offensive line is overmatched. I don't know, man. I have a feeling the Bears are going to win by 20. I'm thinking like 31-10 or something like that. So.
Wow. Well, that's something Bears fans love to hear. Although we've gotten the kiss of death before by other analysts, so we will see. We'll see how that plays out. Senior editor at Giants Insider, Jerry Foley. Jerry, thanks so much for being on the show tonight. We'll talk to you down the road.
Yeah, guys, anytime. I appreciated the questions segment. I love that stuff.
Awesome. Take care, buddy.
All right, man.
All right, Aldo, that's one guest down. Now that everyone knows the Giants a little bit better and what we can expect, we're ready to transition into the next phase. Tell people what we got on deck.
Well, we've got our friend from BetChicago.com. It's Thomas Casale. Thomas, are you with us?
I sure am. How you doing tonight?
Great. I'm going to turn you over to John.
Hey, Thomas, thanks for being on. It's great to have you on here. You're going to be joining us through the rest of the season. I'm glad you could be here. How you doing? How you feeling about the Bears right now?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, last time I was on, I told you they'd make quick work of the Vikings, and they dominated that game as I expected. So, you know, I'm feeling good. I like the team. I like the way they're playing, and I like where they're headed.
Yeah, kind of Nostradamus over there, kind of calling the Vikings game. Now, listen, you live out east. What can you say about the Giants team? Our previous guest, Jerry Foley of the Giants Insider magazine, said that this team is kind of in disarray. It's a big transition year, and they're kind of ready just to wave the white flag if things go sour quick. Is that kind of how you see this game going?
Yeah, I do. It'll be interesting to see who starts at quarterback for the Bears because I think they'll play differently. If Trubisky's in there, they'll play more conservatively. Obviously, if Daniel's in there, kind of like they did last week. The way I see this game, I agree with most of what Jerry said. If you get to Manning early, it's pretty much done. He starts to, like he said, he's starting to feel that pressure as soon as he breaks the huddle now. And it's such a huge advantage for the Bears on that defensive front. You know, Jerry mentioned the Giants playing all close games but one. I agree with one caveat. In week one against the Cowboys, they were getting the snot kicked out of them for 3.5 quarters. They scored 10 points late to make that a 20-13 final. That score was 20-3 the whole way. And the Cowboys are very similar to the Bears on defense. They can rush the passer. They're fast. Their linebackers are fast. They cover a lot of space. And that was a nightmare matchup for the Giants. Now, the Giants' offensive line has played a little better since then, but the Bears also have more talent than the Cowboys. So, to me, that's just a huge mismatch. If Saquon Barkley is negated early, I think the Giants are going to be in for a long day.
Now, last time we talked to you, you spoke pretty highly about the Chicago Bears. I'm guessing your opinion hasn't changed much, but has it gotten even higher of the Bears after watching that game?
Yeah, I mean, I've been, like I said, I'm not a Bears homer. I go by what I see. And I think one of the things that some people don't believe in is the locker room effect. I was fortunate enough to be in NFL locker rooms for a few years, and that's a real thing. You know, these teams, I mean, not everybody's the Patriots, but these teams, they start getting on a roll, they start playing together, they believe in each other. That's how I see the Bears this year. They're very similar to the Eagles of last year, where they kind of got rolling a little bit. They're having fun out there, and the thing I love about the Bears, they're finding different ways to win. They can win a high-scoring game. They can win a low-scoring game. They're winning ugly games. They can win with defense. Those are the type of teams that travel well in the playoffs. To me, the Saints are the best team in football. I mean, they have a great offense, and their defense is good enough in today's NFL. But if you put the Bears, I think the Bears are going to beat the Rams in Chicago if Trubisky is healthy. So I'll tell you that right now. But I think the team nobody wants to play in the playoffs is the Bears because there's no one else like them in the NFC. And if they get some pressure on those quarterbacks, they're going to be a nightmare in the playoffs.
I would have to agree with you on that. I want to get back to the Giants game real quick. I'm gonna dip my toe into Mike North territory here. What's the line on this game, and what's Vegas saying, and what can we read into what they are saying, and how much will the Trubisky Chase Daniel kind of factor into that?
Yeah, right now the Bears are 4.5. So, Trubisky didn't practice today. I'm not certain he's going to play. I hope he does, but the 4.5. Remember, the Bears lines haven't been as high as some of the other teams because it's taken odds makers a little bit to get on board with them. I do think the line's a tad low. I thought it'd be more around 6. So I do think Trubisky is legitimately questionable for this game. At least that's what I'm hearing from people out there. If he plays, I think, you saw the game on Thanksgiving Day. I mean, Daniel's he's a fine backup, but Trubisky is an NFL starting quarterback, and he's a pretty good one, in my opinion. So I think that line is a little low. Again, I like the Bears to really smother the Giants' offense, though, and win an ugly game in New York in the cold and the rain, and that's what it's going to be on Sunday.
Now we're moving into the third week of the Beat Mike North contest. I know we've had some winners. We've had some people forget to put in that promo code, which is BARROOM. Tell us about the contest and what people can win in this.
Yes, and that's the important thing is they have to put the code BARROOM in. Last week, Mike went 4-2, which is pretty good, and 13 people beat him. The only problem is only 2 put the code in, so only 2 people were eligible to get the prizes. So make sure to put the code BARROOM in when you play, and it's this simple. We moved it from sides to totals to make it a little bit more challenging. We have 6 totals in the contest. If you pick better than Mike North, up to 20 people will win. So if it's 20 or less, everybody wins. If it's more than 20, we'll randomly pick 20 names. And again, remember to put the code BARROOM. Go on there. Pick your 6 totals, and you'll be eligible to win a Bet Chicago prize pack. We got all kinds of stuff. We got shirts, hats, stuff to keep your beer cold, all kinds of stuff. And, we got people on Twitter all the time telling us, hey, Bet Chicago's no joke. I just got this in the mail. I just got that in the mail. Hey, I don't know what other places do, but when you win with Bet Chicago, you get your stuff right away.
Absolutely, and I'm interested to hear, what are the games getting the most attention from Vegas this week? I know that there's some good games on the docket. Yeah,
one of the games that's getting quite a bit of attention is that Chiefs-Raiders game. People like the Chiefs, even though they got that high spread of 15. Andy Reid, everyone knows, is great coming off a bye week. The Chiefs have dominated in Oakland, and they're coming off that tough Monday night loss. And that's a game where, you wouldn't think people would like to lay 15 points, but they do, and people are taking the big favorite in that game. And the other point with that is people are obviously just fading the Raiders at this point. I mean, they're such a bad football team that anytime you can bet against them, you might as well do it. And the other game that I know that's getting a lot of attention right now is that Minnesota-New England game. The Patriots actually opened up around a touchdown, and that's down to 5 points. So people are liking the Vikings in that game, getting the points. It's in New England. New England hasn't looked great, but at home, a little tougher at home. So big game, Minnesota and New England. I know the Bears fans would be pulling for the Patriots, but that's a game getting a lot of action.
And betting against the Raiders, that's something the Bears fans love to do, and so far that's paid off big dividends to them. Thomas, before we get you out of here, can you let people know where they can follow you? And please tell us again about Bet Chicago and what it's all about.
Yep, you can follow me at the Bet Chicago site, Twitter handle, at BetChicago1. Mine is at the Pigskin Guy on Twitter. Like Bet Chicago, we have whatever you're interested gambling-wise, we got it. Race car, NASCAR, we got that. College basketball, we're all over it. NBA, NFL, all the college football stuff, bowl games coming up. We got it all covered. We got exotics, season win totals. We're all over the place. If you can bet it, we're on it.
There you have it. Thomas Casale, night editor at BetChicago.com. Thomas, thanks for being on. We're going to talk to you again down the road. Take care of yourself.
All right, take care. Have a good weekend.
You too. Aldo.
I jumped a little before the whistle there.
No, I'm glad you're awake. I'm glad you're awake. I was trying just to wake you up, bud.
Well, I appreciate it, my friend. All right, this is the second part of the show. We're going to do our second 555. Are you ready? I shouldn't have asked you that.
I am always ready. You need to stop asking me that.
All right. I was actually just kind of trying to buy some time here as I find my notes. All right, John. Question number 1. As of Wednesday night, there's no word whether Trubisky will start against the Giants, as you and Thomas were just talking about, although there is word, this late-breaking word, that he is going to talk at tomorrow's press conference, and that's usually a good sign. But nonetheless, on to my question. Nagy did say that the arrow is pointing up, but that the quarterback didn't practice Wednesday. Now, Chase Daniel tossed 2 touchdowns. He played turnover-free ball against the Lions. He had a passer rating of 106.8. Not bad for a guy who had not practiced leading up to the game. How big of a gap do you think there is between having Daniel and Trubisky at the quarterback position for our Bears? 55 seconds starts when you start.
Well, if you ask some folks, you're going to hear that the Bears should sit Mitch and sit another game because, hey, it's the Giants, and Chase did a bang-up job against the Lions on Thanksgiving. I'm on the complete opposite side of that argument. Granted, Chase did an admirable job filling in, and Nagy didn't put too many restraints on him. He handled it well. He knows the system. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. That being the case, the Bears still don't have much wiggle room to start thinking about resting guys that could probably play. You drop this game, and you are basically taking a sledgehammer to what you were able to accomplish in the last 3 weeks. Remember that whole thing about winning games they should win? This is one of those games. Call it being snake bitten, but I'm just not comfortable rolling out some replacements like Shane Falco and thinking that that's good enough to win against the Giants. Throw in the fact that the Lions probably didn't have much relevant tape on Chase Daniel, but the Giants have a whole game to break down. They get to see his tendencies, his mistakes, what he audibles to, and what side he favors. If Mitch legitimately can't go, Chase Daniel is not the worst option. I think you should be happy it's not Caleb Haney, Todd Collins, or Moses Moreno. But man, I'd feel a lot better if Mitch was under center.
Oh, my eyes started twitching when you started mentioning those names. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
You know, it was really a brilliant pickup to bring in Chase Daniel. This guy's familiarity with Matt Nagy in the system, that was another one of those really good moves in the offseason.
Well, yeah, it's one of those guys where they're like, wow, I can't believe he's made this much money throwing that many passes. Well, I think you'd pay that much if you think your backup can actually win the game. I think too many teams don't put a lot of stock into the backup quarterback. The Bears did, and it got them a win.
Great point. Great point. All right, question number 2. This could be the shortest question in the history of B55. It's just 2 words. Eddie Jackson. You have 55 seconds.
Well, Aldo, I appreciate your detailed and direct question. The Bears tweeted out that he has the most defensive touchdowns in the NFL since the start of 2015, which would be 5 touchdowns. The big thing about that is he was drafted in 2017. Then Tariq Cohen kind of replied on Twitter saying Jackson gave everybody a 2-year head start. That was kind of funny. But look at Jackson. 38 combined tackles, 4 interceptions, 3 touchdowns. He's got a sack, too, just to round out the stat sheet. Watch all 5 of these touchdowns in his career. The Bears put them on their YouTube page. They are really, really, really good plays. I love Eddie Jackson. Coming out of Bama, they said that he would have gone a lot higher had it not been for some injury concerns. Then he goes in the 4th round. Another pace find. Thank you. He's just 25 years old. Man, this dude, we talked about him having some rough moments, but he is blossoming into a playmaker on the defense. Every defense needs the guy that can flip the script. Granted, the Bears probably have a couple of those guys right now, which is great. But Jackson, being a ball hawk in the secondary, can blow a game wide open. I'm thinking it's more of that Ed Reed effect. Everything is close until, boom, pick 6. Good night, nurse. Hasta lasagna. Don't get Eddie on ya. This guy's a blast to watch.
Did you feel rushed in that 55 seconds?
Dude, I feel rushed. I never feel rushed. I take what's mine.
Okay, because I forgot to start the clock, so I just started it somewhere in the middle, and I figured.
Did you start randomly counting? Did you have a?
I did.
You got an hourglass over there?
I did. All right. Question number 3. John, you usually give us the prediction for the game at the end of the show, but based on what we learned about the Giants in this show, what, if anything, concerns you about this game? This time, I promise to remember to start the clock anytime.
Thanks for being awake. Listen, the Giants have built a team the opposite way it's supposed to be constructed. They built it from the outside in. However, that's dangerous. If you get anything out of your offensive line, you have guys like Odell Beckham Jr., you have Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard, maybe Evan Ingram. If the Giants feel like they need to make up for their struggling line and they decide to throw to Beckham a ton on screen hits or go to Barkley in the flat, we've seen the Bears get susceptible to quick passes. It neutralizes their pass rush and makes them chase guys down, and trust me, Odell Beckham Jr. is more dangerous than Albert Wilson with the ball. Saquon Barkley is a bit more dangerous than Frank Gore. So yeah, I get a little nervous about that. I get a little nervous that the Bears are on the road in a game they are going to be an overwhelming favorite in. I don't love that this feels like a trap game because they host LA next week. Hopefully, no one is already thinking of December 9th. I don't like to take any game for granted in the NFL. I've watched this team for way too long. I know there are still a lot of things to worry about no matter who you're playing.
Hey, John, I got a question from Steven Zimmerman in the chat room I'd like to sneak in here before we go to question number 4. He wants to know about Adam Shaheen. Now, Shaheen was a full participant in practice today, which is a great sign. It means he probably will play on Sunday against the Giants. What do you think about his role on the offense? How big of an impact does he make for the Bears the rest of the season, in your opinion?
I think it can go. I think it's just a win-win situation because if you have Shaheen in and he has one leg and one hand, he's an upgrade over Deion Sims. So I think that no matter what, you're going to have an upgrade. Now, there's also the potential that it can be huge. It gives a huge target to Trubisky or Daniel, whoever's in there. That this guy can be a huge red zone target. He can be a huge playmaker on 3rd and short whenever you need to get a 4-yard pass, a 5-yard pass. He can go up and get it. He's taller than everybody. So this is going to be a big commodity, figuratively and obviously physically moving forward. I think Bears fans should be excited about that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then the one other thing that I really like about seeing him in the offense is his blocking skills. Something that I think that Trey Burton, as effective as he can be as a pass catcher, is not the best blocking tight end on the team. And Deion Sims has been an utter disappointment with his blocking skills. That's what he came over from Miami, known as that was his strength. I just haven't seen it. But Shaheen, hopefully, if he's back and he helps with the blocking part of the game, I will be very happy. All right.
If your strength is something you're bad at, what kind of player are you?
What would you call him?
Everybody in unison now. He sucks.
He sucks. That's a good one. All right, question number 4. John, these celebrations by the Bears, they're getting the highest marks on RottenTomatoes.com. Give me your evaluation of the celebrations, and is there anything you'd like to see the Bears do in an upcoming celebration? 55 seconds, go.
Well, number one, I'd like them to never embarrass themselves on national TV like the Vikings did last Sunday night. What the hell was that? Number two, the Bears are firing on all cylinders right now, and that includes celebrations. Since the NFL decided to allow a little bit of fun back into the game, I love seeing these celebrations. Remember when people would get so mad about this stuff? Act like you've been there before. How do I explain this to my kids? Show respect to the game. That phrase in general is kind of an oxymoron. It's a game they're playing. I know we all take it seriously. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. That's why we're all here. But games can be important and fun. They're not coal miners. They're not lawyers. They're not underwater welders. There's some room for nonsense in this profession. And if you're doing something professional that they allow 6-year-olds to do, like Pee-wee football, you're allowed to act like a kid sometimes. So if you could be defended by a 3rd grader in court, maybe lawyers would joke around a little bit more. If a 12-year-old was performing open heart surgery, Dookie Howser excluded, of course, perhaps doctors could have a little bit more fun. But this is a game. Celebrations are fun. No one gets hurt, usually. See one of the Grammatica brothers. And the Bears are killing it right now.
I love it. Great answer. And a Doogie Howser reference.
I was going to ask, did anybody get my Doogie Howser reference? Am I officially old now?
Well, since I got it, the answer to that could be yes.
Oh,
I'll ask in the chat room, does anybody else know who Doogie Howser is? We'll see if we get a response quickly here. All right, question number 5. This is my favorite part of the show. John, it's time. I turn off the clock, because we just cannot wait for this portion of the show. It's Pep Talks. And as I look at this roster, I think there's a unit on a team that could really use a pep talk. They are doing well with their pass blocking, but the run blocking, not quite there. Not like we've seen in the past, anyway. And Harry Houston, let's pretend that Harry Houston, the Bears offensive line coach, by the way, Frankie Myers says, is it Doogie Howser or Doobie Howser? We know where he's coming from with that.
Completely different show.
That's correct. So let's pretend that Harry Houston, the Bears offensive line coach, wants you to address this group of offensive linemen. Are you ready? I know you're ready.
Stop asking that.
Okay. Anytime, go.
Gentlemen, fellas, listen. Behind every great football team is a great line. I know you guys don't make the headlines. Between Fast Eddie Jackson scoring on defense, Khalil Mack throwing 300-pound linemen with one arm, and the offensive playmakers gashing opposing defenses, there's little room for highlights with you, Cody, and you, Charles, and even you, James. Sweet, sweet baby James. But listen up, guys. If this team is going to go anywhere, it's because you carried them there. We need you guys, and if our quarterback can't go, we need to plow some holes in the defense. We need you to come through. See, you may not get the credit you deserved, and you may be banged up, but you are the heart of this offense. Our future will only last as long as you do. Be strong. When we call a pass, you need to be an indestructible wall, a fortress for your quarterback. And when it's time to run, you're a snowplow, busting through anything and everything in front of you to create a safe passing lane for your running back to travel in. Your glory may not show up in newspapers, it may not show up in television, but you will know at the end of the day if you earned it. And your teammates will know it too. So get out there and earn your glory this Sunday, gentlemen. Time to bear down. And I'm going to roll right into my prediction. I fear this game will be a little closer. I wish I had Jerry's confidence to just dismantle the Giants like he does. I fear this game's going to be a little closer than it should be. I think the Bears pull it out late. I'm actually going to say, and this is different for me. I'm saying the Bears win 23-20. And I think the defense comes up with a big play at the end. So 23-20. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's a blowout. I hope this thing's over at halftime, but I think it might be a little closer than people expect. Remember, this episode of Buffone 55 will be on your podcast stream first thing in the morning. Make sure you share it with your friends and give us a review on any of the delivery services you get your podcast from. We are on all of them: iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, Betamax. We'll be on your Sony Walkman tomorrow. You name it. All you have to do is search for Bears Barroom Radio Network, and we're going to pop up. Oh, no, what am I missing?
Well, I want everybody to check out Cars Keys. It's on your podcast stream, or you can go over to bearsbarroom.com. Matt Karstensen does a great job of breaking down tape, and he does it on audio, which is tricky to do. And don't forget to enter the Mike North contest, as we talked about earlier, and put that code down, Barroom. Barroom, B-A-R-R-O-O-M. You can win some cool stuff. And don't forget your submissions for the Tix Blitz contest. It's starting to heat up. We're getting some really cool submissions. Don't miss out. Write a jingle for Tix Blitz, and if we like it, you will win a ticket to the Green Bay Packers game. And just like the Bet Chicago contest, no purchase necessary.
And don't forget, Trey Busey's Let's Talk It Out returns Thursday night right here on MixLR at 8 p.m. Central. This is the time of the year when we can all use a little mental tune-up with all the stress the holidays bring along. So catch that live or catch the podcast version. And make sure you turn in on Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time, the Mike North Advantage. Mike will be going over the real betting stuff. I'm just kind of dipping my toe in it tonight. And also on Sunday, it's the Barfly Tailgate Show. Aldo, thank you for stepping in. You can go and take your Metamucil now, head to bed, get some sleep.
I will. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.